The call came on a Tuesday night. My sister Jenna's voice was ragged, desperate. Please. I have nowhere else to go. Just for a few weeks until I get back on my feet. I'd heard that voice before, the one she used when she needed something. I'd heard it when she needed money, when she needed a cosigner, when she needed me to watch her kids for just an hour that turned into a weekend. But this time was different. This time she had 3 children, an ex-husband who'd stopped paying child support, and an eviction notice taped to her apartment door. What was I supposed to do?
Say no?
Let me rewind.
I'm Maya.
I'm 34, single, and I own a small 2-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood. I work as a paralegal, which means I know just enough about the law to be dangerous. I've always been the responsible one in the family, the one with the steady job, the savings account, the spare bedroom. My sister Jenna is 5 years older, and she's always been the opposite. Charismatic, chaotic, and chronically in crisis. Jenna's life has been a series of emergencies.
Bad relationships, bad jobs, bad decisions.
I've lost count of how many times I've bailed her out. Loans that were never repaid, promises that were never kept, emergencies that somehow always became my emergencies. But she's my sister. And those kids, Eli, age 8, Sophie, age 5, and baby Max, just 2, are my nieces and nephew. I love them. I couldn't say no. A few weeks, she promised. Just until I find a place. I have some leads. I'm meeting with a caseworker tomorrow. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. They arrived on a Saturday with 4 suitcases, 3 trash bags of toys, and a chaotic energy that immediately filled every corner of my quiet house. The kids were excited, new place, new adventures. Jenna was grateful, hugging me, thanking me, promising to be no trouble at all. The first week was fine. Exhausting, but fine. The kids were loud, but they were kids. Jenna helped with dishes, made dinner a few times, seemed genuinely motivated to find a place. The second week, the leads started drying up. The apartment was already rented. The landlord wanted first and last month's rent I don't have. The caseworker is swamped. I'm on a waiting list. The third week, she stopped talking about moving out altogether. The fourth week, I found her on my couch at 2 p.m., watching TV, while the kids destroyed my living room. Jenna, did you have any appointments today? Oh, not today. Tomorrow. Definitely tomorrow. Tomorrow came and went. Then the next tomorrow. And the next. 18 months later, they were still there. 18 months. Let that sink in. 18 months of 3 children in a 2-bedroom house. 18 months of toys everywhere, of never-ending noise, of boundaries that were crossed and crossed again. 18 months of Jenna promising to leave and never leaving. I tried everything. Gentle reminders. Firm conversations. Arguments.
Tears.
I even offered to help her find an apartment, to co-sign a lease, to pay the first month's rent. Nothing worked. You're my sister, she'd say. Family helps family. You wouldn't throw us out on the street, would you? The guilt trips were masterful. She knew exactly which buttons to push. And I let her push them, because I didn't know what else to do. The kids, bless them, were innocent in all this. They'd grown attached to me, to my house, to the stability I represented. Eli called me Aunt Maya and asked if he could live with me forever. Sophie drew me pictures that I hung on my fridge. Baby Max learned to walk in my living room. I loved them. That was the worst part. I loved them, and I couldn't bear the thought of them being homeless. But I also couldn't bear the thought of another year of this. The breaking point came on a Sunday afternoon. I'd had a rare day off, and I'd planned to spend it reading on my porch, enjoying the quiet. Instead, I came home from a quick grocery run to find a scene of chaos. The kids had gotten into my art supplies and painted the living room wall. Jenna was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, ignoring them. Jenna, what happened? She barely looked up. Kids will be kids. It'll wash off. It's paint, Jenna. It won't wash off. I'm going to have to repaint this whole wall. So? You have a job. You can afford it. Something in me snapped. Not loudly, quietly. A clean, cold break. I went to my room, closed the door, and called a lawyer. Not for a lawsuit, just for advice. I needed to know my rights. The lawyer, a woman named Priya who specialized in landlord-tenant law, listened to my story. When I finished, she asked one question. How long has she been there? 18 months. Does she get mail there?
Yes.
Lots of it. She changed her address months ago. Has she ever paid you rent?
No.
But she buys groceries sometimes. Pays for the internet. Priya sighed. Maya, I have bad news and good news. The bad news is, your sister is legally a tenant. 18 months, mail delivery, contributions to household expenses. She has established residency. You can't just kick her out. I felt my heart sink. So I'm stuck. The good news is you have rights too. You can evict her. It's a process, but it's possible. You'll need to serve her with a formal notice, then file in court if she doesn't leave. It'll take time, and it'll be ugly, but you can do it. Evict my own sister? Or you can live with her forever. Your choice. I hung up and sat in my room, staring at the wall. Eviction. The word felt like a betrayal. But what was the alternative? Another 18 months? Another 5 years? Another decade? I started researching. I learned about tenancy laws, eviction procedures, the difference between a lodger and a tenant. I learned that in my state, after 30 days, a guest becomes a tenant with rights. I learned that I could serve a 30-day notice to quit, and if she didn't leave, I could file for eviction in court. I also learned something else. Something that made my blood run cold. The statute of limitations for certain tenancy disputes was 10 years. 10 years. If I didn't act now, she could legally claim tenancy for a decade. She could stay in my house, with her children, for 10 years, and I'd have no recourse. I had to make a choice. Evict my sister, or lose my home for a decade. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my bed, listening to the sounds of the house, the creak of the floorboards as Jenna got up for water, the soft breathing of the children in the next room. My home. My sanctuary. Now a prison of my own making. The next morning, I served her the notice. I printed it out, filled in the dates, and handed it to her at the breakfast table. She was making coffee, oblivious. What's this? She read it, her face shifting from confusion to disbelief to fury. You're evicting me? Your own sister? With 3 children. Jenna, I've asked you to leave for 18 months. You've ignored every request. I don't have a choice. You have a choice. You're choosing to be cruel. I'm choosing to have my life back. She threw the notice on the floor. This isn't over. You'll regret this. So, what happens next? Does she leave quietly, or does she fight? And what will my family say when they find out I evicted my sister and her kids? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Part 2 is the war, and it's just beginning.
Subscribe.
The 30-day notice gave Jenna a month to find a new place. She spent that month doing absolutely nothing to find a new place. Instead, she launched a campaign of psychological warfare designed to make me rescind the eviction. The crying jags, the guilt trips, the passive-aggressive comments about family abandoning family. She even enlisted the kids, coaching them to ask me why I didn't love them anymore. Little Sophie looked up at me with tear-filled eyes and said, "Mommy says you're sending us away because you're mad at us." I almost broke. Almost. But then I remembered the 10-year statute. The 30 days passed. Jenna didn't leave. She didn't pack. She didn't even look for apartments. She just sat on my couch, watching TV, pretending the notice had never existed. On day 31, I filed for eviction in housing court. The clerk looked at me with something like pity when I handed over the paperwork. Family member? Sister. These are always the hardest. She stamped the papers and handed me a court date. 3 weeks away. When Jenna got served, she went nuclear. She called our mother, our aunts, our cousins, everyone in the family, and painted me as a heartless monster throwing children onto the street. My phone exploded with texts and calls. My mother, predictably, took Jenna's side. "Maya, how could you? They're your family." "Mom, she's been here for 18 months. She's not looking for a place. She's not working. She's not doing anything. Because she's depressed. She needs support, not eviction. I've supported her for a year and a half. At what point does support become enabling? The conversation went nowhere. My mother hung up on me. My aunts sent passive-aggressive Facebook messages. My cousins, the ones who'd always been closer to Jenna, stopped talking to me entirely. I was alone. The court date arrived. Jenna showed up with a lawyer, a legal aid attorney she'd found through some program. I represented myself, armed with the research I'd done and the confidence of someone who'd been wronged for too long. The hearing was brief. Jenna's lawyer argued that she was a tenant with rights, that I hadn't given her enough time, that she had nowhere to go. I presented my evidence, the 30-day notice, the certified mail receipt, the timeline of her stay. The judge, a weary woman who'd seen this 1,000 times, listened to both sides. MS. Jenna Vance, she said, you have been in your sister's home for 18 months. You have received proper notice. You have had ample time to find alternative housing. The court grants the eviction. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. Jenna burst into tears. Her lawyer patted her arm, already packing up. I sat in the courtroom, feeling nothing but exhaustion. But Jenna wasn't done. On the way out, she turned to me, her eyes blazing. You think this is over? It's not over. You'll regret this for the rest of your life. The kids will never forgive you. The family will never forgive you. And I will make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are. She walked out. I sat there, alone, wondering if she was right. The next 30 days were a nightmare. Jenna didn't pack. She didn't look for apartments. She just existed, radiating hostility, making my life as miserable as possible. The kids, confused and scared, acted out. Sophie stopped talking to me. Eli asked why I hated them. Baby Max just cried. I started sleeping at a friend's house just to escape. I'd come home each day hoping to find them gone, and each day they were still there. Then, on day 29, I came home to an empty house.
No llene.
No kids.
No suitcases.
Just a note on the kitchen table. Maya, I hope you're happy. You got what you wanted. We're gone. The kids are devastated.
I'm devastated.
And I hope you can live with yourself knowing you through your own family out on the street. Jenna. I sat down and cried. Not from relief, from grief. For the sister I'd lost, the relationship that was now destroyed, the family that would never see me the same way again. But underneath the grief was something else. A tiny, stubborn voice that said, you did the right thing. You had to. So, what happens now? Do I try to rebuild with my family, or is the damage permanent? And where did Jenna go? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Part 3 is about the aftermath and the unexpected twist that changes everything.
Subscribe.
For 6 months, I heard nothing from Jenna. No calls, no texts, no social media posts. The kids' birthdays came and went without invitations. Christmas passed with a generic card from our mother, signed Love, the family, as if Jenna and the kids didn't exist. I'd been erased. Excommunicated. The black sheep who dared to evict her sister. I told myself it was worth it, that my sanity was worth more than their approval. But at night, alone in my quiet house, I wondered if I'd made a terrible mistake. Then on a rainy Tuesday, my doorbell rang. I opened the door to find my mother standing there. She looked older, thinner, her eyes red-rimmed. Behind her, on the sidewalk, stood Jenna. And behind Jenna, huddled together like refugees, were the kids. Maya, my mother said, her voice trembling. We need to talk. I stood in the doorway, frozen. 6 months of silence, and now this. Mom, what's going on? Jenna stepped forward. She looked terrible, gaunt, exhausted, her clothes worn and stained. The kids looked even worse. Eli, once a chatty 8-year-old, stared at the ground. Sophie hid behind her mother's leg. Baby Max, now 3, clung to Jenna's hand with a desperate grip. We have nowhere else to go, Jenna whispered. Please. I should have slammed the door. I should have told them to leave, to call ahead, to respect the boundaries I'd fought so hard to establish. But I looked at those kids, my nieces and nephew, and something in me broke.
Come in.
They filed past me, silent, defeated. My mother followed last, squeezing my arm as she passed. "Thank you," she whispered. In my living room, the same living room that had once been destroyed by their chaos, they sat on my couch like strangers. I made tea. No one drank it. Jenna told the story in fragments, interrupted by tears. After the eviction, she'd moved in with our cousin Rachel. That lasted 2 months. Then Rachel's landlord found out and threatened eviction. Then Jenna moved to a shelter. Then another shelter. Then a motel, paid for by our mother, until the money ran out. The kids had changed schools 3 times. They'd been sick. They'd been scared. They'd been homeless. I tried, Jenna sobbed. I tried to find a job, to save money, to get on my feet. But every time I got close, something fell apart. I couldn't do it alone. My mother took over. "We're not asking you to take them in again. I know that's too much. But we need help. Real help. Not just a place to stay. Help figuring out what to do." I sat back, my mind racing. 6 months ago, I'd been the villain. Now, I was the only one who might be able to save them. "What do you need?" "Help navigating the system," Jenna said. "You know about tenant laws, about eviction, about all of it. I don't. I've been flying blind, making mistakes, getting nowhere. I need someone who can help me find real housing."
Permanent housing.
"For the kids." I looked at her, really looked at her. For the first time, I didn't see the manipulative sister who'd used me for 18 months. I saw a broken woman who'd hit rock bottom and was finally ready to ask for help, not just take it. "Why should I trust you?" I asked. "After everything?" Jenna met my eyes. "Because I have nowhere else to go. And because these kids deserve better than what I've given them. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to help them." The kids. Eli, who'd once asked if he could live with me forever. Sophie, who'd drawn me pictures. Baby Max, who'd learned to walk in this living room. "Okay," I said. "But we do this my way. No more promises. No more temporary. We find you a real place, with real stability, and we get you the help you need. Together." Jenna nodded, tears streaming down her face. The next few months were the hardest work I've ever done. I used my paralegal skills to navigate the system, housing vouchers, food assistance, childcare subsidies. I found a nonprofit that helped single mothers with job training. I located an apartment complex with income-based rent and a waiting list that Jenna could actually get on. I became her advocate, her caseworker, her sister again. But it wasn't easy. There were setbacks, arguments, moments when Jenna fell back into old patterns, blaming others, avoiding responsibility, expecting me to fix everything. Each time, I held the line. "I'll help you, but I won't do it for you." Slowly, painfully, she started doing it for herself. She got a job, part-time, minimum wage, but a job. She enrolled in classes to become a medical assistant. She found a therapist who specialized in trauma and started going weekly. The kids, too, began to heal. Eli started talking again, laughing again. Sophie drew me a new picture, a house with 5 figures in front. Me, Jenna, Eli, Sophie, and Max, all holding hands. She labeled it family. I hung it on my fridge, right where the old pictures used to be. Then, on the day Jenna was supposed to sign the lease for her new apartment, she called me with news that changed everything. So, what do you think that news was? Did she get the apartment? Did something fall through? Or is there another twist waiting? Let me know your theories in the comments. Part 4 is about the surprise that no one saw coming.
Subscribe.
"I'm not signing the lease," Jenna said. I felt the world tilt. 6 months of work. 6 months of navigating systems, fighting bureaucracy, holding her hand through every setback. And now, on the day she was supposed to move into a stable home for her children, she was backing out. "Jenna, what are you talking about? The apartment is perfect. The rent is affordable. The kids can finally have stability. Why would you?" "Because I found something better." Her voice was calm, steady, a tone I'd never heard from her before. Can you meet me at the address I'm about to text you? There's something I need to show you. The address was in a neighborhood I didn't recognize. Modest houses, quiet streets, a small park at the end of the block. I parked in front of a neat little bungalow with a for sale sign in the yard. Jenna was waiting on the porch, the kids playing in the front yard. What is this? I asked, getting out of the car. Come see. She led me inside. The house was small but well-maintained, 3 bedrooms, a decent kitchen, a backyard with a swing set. It needed work, but it had good bones. I'm buying it, Jenna said.
Ist her.
You're what? I'm buying it. With my own money. The money I've been saving for my job. The money from the classes. The money I didn't spend on hotels and motels, because you helped me find alternatives. Jenna, you can't afford a house. You just started working. I can't afford this house at market price now. But I can afford it through a program I found, a first-time homebuyer program for single mothers. They provide a low-interest loan, down payment assistance, and counseling. I qualified. I applied. I was approved. I sat down on the worn kitchen counter, my head spinning. How long have you been planning this? Months. Since you started helping me with the housing voucher. I realized that a rental would always be temporary. I wanted something permanent. Something that was mine. Something the kids could count on. But why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to know I could do it on my own. Without you fixing everything. Without you being my safety net. I needed to prove to myself that I could be the mother my kids deserve. She paused, her eyes filling with tears. And I needed to prove it to you. To show you that your faith in me wasn't misplaced. I looked around the house, the empty rooms, the potential, the future. And I saw my sister, standing in the middle of it, transformed. Jenna, this is incredible. I'm so proud of you. She hugged me, and we both cried. The kids, sensing something important, ran inside and joined the hug. We stood there, a messy tangle of arms and tears and hope, in a house that would soon be their home. The closing was 6 weeks later. I went with Jenna, watched her sign the papers, watched her become a homeowner. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. The house needed work, painting, repairs, a lot of love. But Jenna was ready. She'd learned to do things for herself. She'd learned to ask for help when she needed it, but not to rely on it. She'd become someone new. We spent the next month fixing up the house together. Painting walls, assembling furniture, planting flowers in the yard. The kids were everywhere, excited and chaotic and wonderful. It felt like healing. The night before they moved in, Jenna and I sat on the porch, watching the sunset. Thank you, she said quietly, for everything. For evicting me. For not giving up on me. For being the sister I didn't deserve. You always deserved it, Jenna. You just had to find your way to it. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I'm going to make this work.
For them. For me.
For us. I believed her. So, what happens now? Does Jenna succeed in her new life? And what about her family, the aunts, the cousins, the mother who'd taken her side? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The final part is about forgiveness, family, and the long road home.
Subscribe.
The housewarming party was Jenna's idea. I want everyone to see, she said. I want them to know that I did this. That we did this. I was nervous. The family hadn't spoken to me since the eviction. My mother's calls had been few and cold. My aunts still sent passive-aggressive Facebook messages. But Jenna was insistent. They need to see what you did for me. What we did together. It's time. So on a Saturday afternoon, I drove to her new house, my stomach in knots, and prepared to face the family that had written me off. The house looked beautiful. Fresh paint, flowers in the yard, a welcome mat that said, home, in cheerful letters. Cars lined the street, my mother's sedan, my aunt's SUV, cousins I hadn't seen in years. I took a deep breath and walked up the porch steps. Jenna met me at the door. She looked radiant, happy, like a different person from the desperate woman who'd shown up on my doorstep 2 years ago. Come in, she said, squeezing my hand. They're all here, and they're ready. The living room was full of family. My mother stood by the fireplace, talking to my aunt. Cousins milled about with plates of food. Kids ran everywhere, my nieces and nephew, plus their cousins, a chaotic tangle of energy and joy. When I walked in, the room went quiet. My mother looked at me, her expression unreadable. Then she crossed the room and pulled me into a hug.
Maya.
I'm so sorry. I hugged her back, tears springing to my eyes. For what? For not listening. For taking Jenna's side without hearing yours. For making you feel alone when you were doing the right thing. She pulled back, her own eyes wet. Jenna told me everything. About the 18 months, about the eviction, about how you helped her afterward. You didn't just evict her, you saved her. Other family members gathered around, offering hugs, apologies, thanks. My aunt, who'd sent the harshest Facebook messages, took my hands. I had no idea.
She made it sound so different.
I'm ashamed I didn't ask more questions. I accepted their apologies, but something in me felt distant. Not angry, just aware that they'd been so quick to judge, so slow to understand. It would take time to rebuild those bridges. Jenna called everyone to the backyard for a toast. She stood on the small deck, a glass of sparkling cider in her hand. The kids gathered around her. I want to thank you all for coming, she said. This house represents something I never thought I'd have. Stability. A home. A future.
She looked at me.
And I wouldn't have it without my sister, Maya. She did something that no one else in this family was willing to do. She said no.
She set a boundary.
And in doing so, she forced me to grow up. The family murmured, some looking uncomfortable. I know some of you judged her for that, Jenna continued. I know I made her the villain in my story. But the truth is, she was the hero. She loved me enough to let me fail. And when I was ready to try again, she was there to help me succeed. She raised her glass. To Maya. The best sister, the best aunt, and the best woman I know. Everyone raised their glasses. I stood there, overwhelmed, as my family, my complicated, judgmental, loving family, toasted me. The party went on for hours. I played with the kids, talked with my cousins, even had a long conversation with my mother about everything that had happened. It wasn't perfect. There were awkward moments, things left unsaid, wounds that would take time to heal. But it was a start. At the end of the night, as the last guests filed out, Jenna and I sat on the porch swing, watching the stars. Thank you, she said quietly, for everything. You already thanked me. I know, but I need to say it again. For not giving up on me. For believing I could be different. For being there when I finally was. I put my arm around her. You did the work, Jenna. I just opened the door. We sat in comfortable silence, the sounds of the neighborhood settling around us. What's next for you? She asked. I thought about it. My house, finally quiet again. My job, steady and satisfying. My life, which I'd fought to reclaim. I don't know, I said. But I'm looking forward to finding out. The micro-niche here isn't just tenant rights or family boundaries. It's about the hardest kind of love, the kind that says no when saying yes would be easier. It's about the courage to set boundaries with the people you love most, and the faith that they can rise to meet them. It's about a sister who lost everything to find herself, and another sister who refused to lose her in the process. Jenna still lives in that little bungalow with her kids. She finished her medical assistant program and works at a clinic across town. Eli is in middle school now. Sophie is in 3rd grade, and Max started kindergarten last fall. They come to my house for dinner every Sunday. The walls are still covered in Sophie's drawings. My relationship with the rest of the family is better. Not perfect, but better. We've learned that love isn't about never saying no. It's about saying no when it matters, and yes when it counts. Have you ever had to set a hard boundary with someone you love? How did it turn out? Share your stories in the comments below. Let's talk about the courage to say no and the love that makes it possible. And if this story of sisters, boundaries, and hard-won redemption resonated with you, share it. Sometimes, the most important thing we can do for the people we love is to let them find their own way. Thanks for listening.